Good evening, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual Monday night roundtable discussion about all things West Yorkshire football and beyond. We're a little bit low on numbers tonight. We're kicking off with myself, Chris Bell. Joining me as ever are Lewis Sale and Gaz Walker. How are we doing, gents?
All good, mate. Yourselves?
Yeah, very well. Looking forward to Wednesday, Lou. Looking forward to Wednesday and a Euro semi-final.
What do I have to do to get on top row? Because I know Lou's been moved up to top row tonight. I have never been on the top row.
We will rectify that in due course, I'm sure. Steven Browne, he will be joining us a little bit later on as well to talk all things Leeds United. Delighted to say, though, that we are going to start by bringing in a special guest, Grant Black, who is the manager of Brighouse Town. He's been around the management scene for a good few years and the playing scene across West Yorkshire in non-league as well. Grant, thanks for joining us this evening. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. Excited to be on for the first time, and looks like you do a great job from the build up there. Really excited to be on now. Yeah.
In fact, you've just reminded me about the things that we need to do. I'm just going to add this along the bottom now. So this is, as I did last week as well, this is the week ahead and the non-league games that are coming up across the West Yorkshire region as well. So they'll be going across the bottom throughout the course of the show. And Grant, pre-season for you at Brighouse Town, you've been in there since May, if I'm right in thinking. You had a couple of months under the door. I mean, how quickly did the work start looking ahead to next season? Was it literally from that first minute when you took over back in May?
Yeah, I think obviously at non-league level, you don't get much time to sort of pan yourself in. So we started straight away, obviously looking and talking to players that we wanted to keep from sort of last season, from either playing or managing against them over years, and ones that we felt would obviously be allowed to kick us on to that next level, and then obviously trying to recruit. Obviously, the West Yorkshire area, there's a lot of non-league clubs, so you have to start early and trying to bring your players in to sort of beat off other clubs. So yeah, we started straight away, and thankfully we've been pretty successful in sort of what we've been able to bring in and keep the ones that we wanted to keep.
We know each other, Grant, from our Avenue days from a while ago. Blast from the past, but obviously, like I say, it's good to have you back in the region. Obviously, you've previously managed at Ossett and Belper. What attracted you to the job at Brighouse? Because obviously, you know, those who might be familiar, Brighouse did struggle last year. The skates on the points per game ratio at the moment, so it's a bit of a task, isn't it, to kind of get the club back up and running in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, they did sort of have a season where they were struggling, and I think obviously over the last couple of seasons they've sort of found themselves in and around that area. It's always been a club that me and Mick have always had a good relationship with. My assistant, Mick Norbury, Charlie, who's been chairman there for a long time, and Chris. We've always sort of win, lose or draw during a game or after a game. Generally after, because they've obviously hated us during a game. But after a game, I'd had a drink and a chat, and always kind of been on the same kind of wavelength in regards to his football philosophies, I suppose, or the way we want things to work and stuff. So I think obviously when they knew they were going to make that change, that we kind of ticked a lot of boxes for them, and obviously when we got offered a few jobs, that one ticked a lot of boxes for us in regards to choosing that one. Yeah, good club, good potential, and we feel if we can get it right on the pitch, then everything else hopefully will take care of itself off the pitch.
So those as fans watching, listening in, are obviously really keen to know about new signings coming in. It's a fresh new start under yourself, and that's Mick as well. You've got some familiar faces that people around West Yorkshire, you know, like Cal Trenery, and obviously Danny Edwards coming from Knaresborough, as well as Cole Wilding from Knaresborough, Spencer Harris. So you are trying to almost give it almost a fresh lick of paint, aren't you, and stamp your style on the play.
Yeah, I think like you said, you know, when we went in, we went and watched. We were invited to watch the last couple of games, and obviously not one of them who likes to go and do that when people are still managing clubs. But obviously the situation they were in, that were going to change. So we went and watched a couple of games, and there were a lot of good players in that dressing room that we felt we could, you know, maybe with a fresh voice could sort of get a little bit more out of, or sort of adapt how we played might suit them a little bit better. So yeah, we've kept a lot of good players from that dressing room that we feel can do that. And then, like you say, I think it were a bit of an inexperienced squad, I'd say, like very young team. which you need, obviously, you know, that enthusiasm and what young players bring. But I think it lacked a little bit of experience. And so you've touched on people like Spencer Harris sort of coming in, I think, who can, you know, grant you we've kept, they can sort of offer that experience on the pitch, I suppose, when you need to sort of manage the game from the pitch rather than a pitch side. Those people can sort of do that for us. So yeah, important that we got that bit of experience as well as the youth and the you know, as that side of it as well.
So as a manager, new club, new start, what does pre-season look like at Brighouse Town at the moment?
Yeah, it's been, I think the players will say it's been a tough one for them.
Are you joining in, Grant? Not joining this team?
Yeah, listen, I wish I could now, honestly. Tell lads, listen, try and, as much as you dislike it, do it as long as you can, because you're a long time fat and unable to do it, which is what I am at this moment in time. So I don't envy him, but I do envy him. And it's funny because I used to, as Lewis will probably tell you, probably saw me a few times doing it. I weren't one of the best runners at pre-season anyway, as it is, but kind of in a weird way, enjoy putting them sessions on for lads and getting them into a, you know, as people around non-league football will know, I think if you can be a fit team and an organised team at this level, it does get you, you know, it can get you a lot of points come the end of the season, because technically, you know, barring the odd one or two teams that might have unlimited funds, everybody's on a similar sort of playing field with the ability that they've got. So it's just trying to find them extra little bits that might get you over the line in some games. And obviously we're keen to make sure that pre-season gets us them fitness levels that allows us to play the way we want to play this season, and hopefully be sort of looking up rather than looking down this year. Yeah.
Some derbies, isn't he, as well, in the Northern Premier League East? You know, there's about 7 or 8 of us in the local region having a right good go at it, aren't we?
Yeah, it was like trying to speak to players these days. You know, I know you talk about money a lot at levels of football, but there's been a lot of teams sort of lower than the Evo stick that we're in, obviously the East, the Northeast counties, teams that are chucking like a lot of money at it. And when you speak to players and try and persuade them to sort of step up, but for less money or similar money, they always sort of don't want to do it because of the travel, or that's something that they speak about. But obviously it's been a little bit easier this year to obviously tell them that, look, we've got 10 sort of local derbies this year that are all Yorkshire based. So for this season alone, there's going to be less travelling than there's ever been at that level. So hopefully that'll entice players to come and play at this, at Brighouse and other clubs around the area, and obviously attract a lot of fans for sort of, like you said, 10 local derbies, really.
How hard is it, though, when, for example, if you're in talks with a player to come to yourselves in the NPL East, knowing full well that there's 6 or 7 other NPL East sides on the doorstep for the same player? How hard is it to persuade them that Brighouse is the right choice to make?
Yeah, it's really difficult. Obviously, obviously that comes down to then, you know, how you can sort of sell yourself, I suppose, and sell sort of what we want to try and do, sell the club in the best possible light that you can, get them to come round maybe sometimes and look at the facilities, etc. Just sort of anything you can do really to try and sort of get that signature of a line. But like you say, I suppose a lot of it is like, you know, you do become sort of a car salesman really when you're, you know, you're sort of all fishing in the same pond. And like you said, some have got more money than others. Some have got similar ones, similar budgets, and you have to, like you say, you just have to be a bit of a salesman, I suppose, sometimes when you are in for the same player. And like I said, try to get your philosophy, if you want to call it that, or your, you know, how you want to work across and hope that they like that. And if they do, you can sort of sneak them on that line. If not, then you have to sort of move quickly on to the next one. Unfortunately, it's kind of how it is, I think.
Yeah, you'll see them in a matter of months, and all the ones that sadly moved on elsewhere. I'm going to bring in Ian's question, who is a regular watcher of the show, is Bradford City fan. He says, do clubs at Brighouse's level look to create relationships with the area's professional clubs?
Yeah, it's a great question. All the clubs I've been at as a player, sort of non-league clubs, and as a manager, sort of Ossett Town before it merged, Belper, Brighouse now, obviously, they all try to build the links the best they can with professional clubs. Some professional clubs are more how can I word it? More helpful maybe than others. But I think if you can get the right people involved at those clubs and you can talk to the right people, then you can always, like I said, manage to maybe get loans or even if it's pre-season friendly to get gates and get some incoming through that way. Like I know a lot of non-league clubs do at this level. But yeah, it's something that all clubs try to do. Sometimes it's difficult because obviously professional clubs have got, it's their livelihoods, and that they're the full time. They can't be, so they have to be careful in what they do and their focus. But like I say, I've had a lot of good experience with football league clubs, and like I said, a lot of them in the Yorkshire area have been helpful to me over my time. So yeah, it's something that does happen, and I think obviously long may that continue, because you never know when you might need each other over the years, I suppose, as clubs or as people.
So obviously we know the fixtures for the league, which is pretty much around the corner out for us all. But obviously the cup draws have already been made, FA Cup, FA Trophy. So from your perspective, Grant, from Brighouse, Ban Aldwick, I mean, the winners of that, I think, play Squires Gate, I believe. And forgot who else were playing. I want to
Squires Gate or Northwich. Yeah,
that's one. I'm glad you know as manager. And then, I mean, obviously the other competition, you've got Clitheroe at home. So potentially got home ties, depending if you can get through. That must be a bonus. And I know that we were just speaking, didn't we, before we went on air, how the importance of good cup runs to it's not only off the field to put money in the back pocket, but just to gain momentum for the rest of the season.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's always something that we've put a lot of emphasis on and a lot of focus on, trying to get good cup runs, because like you say, it not only it brings income, but it brings that momentum, it brings that feel-good factor, I think, to clubs, especially we've been earlier on now. There's a lot of times where, again, this season, where your FA Cup game comes before your first league game. So if you can get off to a winning start in that, it obviously then brings people through the door for your first league game. But we've had really good experiences in FA Cup at Ossett Town. We got Solihull, and we brought them back to Ingfield for a replay, which I think there were about 2,000 people there that night. We took them right to end. We're unlucky not to take it to extra time. And we've also at Belper, we played Notts County at Notts County, where there were like 12, 13,000 there, 2,500 Belper fans. So again, and we give them a really good run for the money. So that generated a lot of money for Belper and allowed them to sort of build a 4G pitch off the training facility and improve ground maintenance and stuff like that. And obviously the experience for the players to play at Notts County in front of 10, 11,000 and us to manage in that area is brilliant. So we want more of it because we've had a taste of it and we want to do it again. So we'll be concentrating massively on starting off well against Barnoldswick, which will be a tough game, as it can be in FA Cup, as we know, at any level. So we'll have to make sure we're fully at it, and hopefully we can get a good win and see where that takes us. And obviously Clitheroe, the FA Trophy, there in our level of football, and obviously the team that are fancied to win that league this year. I think the Evo stick West. So that'll be a really tough game, but we've got an home tie, so hopefully we'll be able to put a good performance on and get a win, maybe.
I was just going to ask you about that, Grant. Managing it up against Clitheroe next year. Jimmy Bell, isn't it, who's gone to Clitheroe? Looking forward to pitting your wits against him?
Ooh.
Am I still there, guys?
Yeah,
can you hear us? Can you hear us, Grant?
He's gone. He's not ignoring you guys. He's honestly not ignoring you.
I mean, we can hear Grant, but Grant can't hear us.
Oh, can you hear us now, Grant?
Still on, fellas?
Can you hear us now? We'll try and get Grant back. Wondering whether.
Yeah, let's try and get Grant. Yeah, it's just left. But no, it's a good question, guys. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Bell, they got some signings. Sean McConville as well from Aki as well.
Yeah. Well, Matt obviously knew about that because my mate's a Stanley fan, and he was telling me the other day that Jimmy had gone there, and then obviously Sean. But I was saying, where's John Coleman going to end up? And he said he won't be surprised if he's seen about at Clitheroe games, because obviously he's really good mates with Jimmy Bell, isn't he? Been together for a long, long time. So he said maybe might not end up working for him or anything, but he'll probably be spotted at Clitheroe. You would imagine he'll be seen there and thereabouts.
what we'll do is we're going to bring in our Leeds United man and regular host, Steven Browne, to join us. If and hopefully Grant might be able to get himself back on. We'll try and pick up where we left off with Grant in due course. But for the time being, Brownie, good evening, mate. How are you? All right?
I'm good. Is it my fault? Was it me? Because I joined. It was like too many people.
It shouldn't have been. That's it. We'll bring Grant back in now, and we'll see. Yes. Fingers crossed that he can hear us, because we could hear Grant, but he couldn't hear us. So let's bring you back in. Grant, can you hear us this time, mate?
I can, lads. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if it were me or not. I'm not very technological, but I apologise.
It's all these messages that you're getting about coming on the show. That's all it'll be.
It's a signal back to Barnsley. That's the problem, Grant. That's it.
Yeah, we are just having internet fitted in Barnsley.
No, Gaz just had a question for you. That was all, just before you went, mate.
Yeah, we'll turn to Gaz. Gaz, I think you were going to ask him, weren't you, about Clitheroe?
Yeah, just a quick one, Grant. Looking forward to pitting your wits against Jimmy Bell next year, and possibly Sean McConville rocked up at Clitheroe as well. They're big names, aren't they, for that level?
Yeah, it's like you said, there's a lot of sort of experienced managers, coaches that have sort of managed at high levels or played and been around high levels that are kind of sort of, I don't want to say dropping, but are sort of coming to this level. And like you say, as a player, you always want to sort of play against the best you can play against. And I think as a manager, I want to do that as well. So it'll be, like you say, I've done it a few times, like I said, at Notts County, Neil Ardley and people like that, and Richard Money at Solihull, and it's brilliant to try and pick their brains sometimes after, if they've had the result they want, they'll sit and talk to you and give some pearls of wisdom. So yeah, it's brilliant, and it's brilliant for the league, to have them kind of people boost the profile and hopefully gets more people involved and interested in this level of football. Yeah,
it must be one of those things. It must be one of those things that is kind of very much about English football. You can't imagine it happening on the continent, for example, because, I mean, myself and Lewis, we went to a game last season, the Northwest County. We went to Barlick Town against Wythenshawe and looked through the team sheet, and lo and behold, there's George Boyd, who was like a, £1.5 to £2 million player at one point when he was going from Peterborough to Burnley, playing for Wythenshawe Town in what we're talking, like that would be 9th tier of the pyramid off the top of my head. And you see it, Pascal Jim Bonder rocking up, was it Ramsbottom United as manager? Or was it Skelmersdale, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's the beauty of English non-league football is that you will find people that have been in the Premier League maybe 10, 15 years ago that still got that passion for the game, even at the lower levels.
Yeah, like you say, it's as you guys know more than us as fans, as well as working at clubs and stuff. It's just that bug in it. You know, every other week or every other month, we're going to pack in and we've had enough, and never, you're going to retire or whatever. But it just something always draws you back to football. And like you said, people that have made millions of pounds and don't need the hassle or the grief or whatever from non-league football brings, still want to do it. And like you said, there's some big name players playing at this level now, and like I say, it all sort of boosts, like I said, the profile and the standard of the league, which is what we want. We want good players playing at this level. And I think the more obviously players start dropping down from like league football to conference football, and you have people like Buxton and stuff going full time now. It all then obviously trickles down to sort of our level, where then players can't get into them teams anymore, so they step down one. And like you said, the quality of those players now is ridiculous when the standards best I've ever known it in these leagues now by a mile. Yeah.
Couple of questions in. One of them's more of a statement, and we'll find out if you know about it. So James, who's a regular viewer, has asked you, Grant, can we bounce back first time, or will it take longer realistically?
Who's this a question for? What
this is
team?
From James, one of our viewers, who listens regularly every week.
About Brighouse, can they bounce back and get back up to the NPL Prem?
Well, definitely. Like I said, that's the aim. We've got promoted, not relegated. Sorry, we've got promoted out of this league before with Belper, so we feel we know what it takes to sort of build a dressing room and a team that can sort of definitely compete to be promoted. And like I said, we feel that if we get off to a good start, is this season too early? I won't like to say, but we'll be doing everything we can to sort of make sure that we're pushing in that direction to try and get the club back to where it belongs and where we feel we want it to be. You know, the last couple of managers have been sort of, one were there for 7 years, one were there for 8 years. So the club obviously like continuity in sort of the staff to help build that sort of ethos. And like I say, we don't want it to take that long, that's for sure. But you know, we'll begin at a good push this season, and I feel with the players we've brought in and the ones we've kept, we'll have a good chance of being up and around it and see sort of where that takes us.
Finally, in your younger days, Mr. Black, I know you might be up for this, and I know that you're all about team bonding and team spirit. According to James, again, Brighouse is the best night out.
To be fair, James, we have recently been discussing our team night out for pre-season, as all non-league people, well, even football league teams, but non-league people will know. Team bonding is massive, and the lads always arrange a night out at the back end of pre-season. Ours is going to be on the hopefully it might bring a few more people out into Brighouse, but the 27th, and we've sort of flirted with the idea of Leeds, Halifax, quite a few other places got mentioned, but I think we all got together on Friday after we played Tadcaster, and we agreed that Brighouse were going to be our night out on the 27th. So I'm expecting big things from Brighouse on that night to entertain us, hopefully. Yeah.
So there we go. If Brighouse Town fans want to go and meet the squad half cut, that's the easy way to do it. 27th, get out in Brighouse, and you'll find them somewhere in one of the establishments.
Correct.
Just before we let you go, Grant, what's next for you in terms of the pre-season? What does the pre-season fixtures look like, just to give you an opportunity to promote the games when they are between now and the start of the season?
Yeah, obviously I'll be as quick as I can for you. We're supposed to play Wednesday against Worsborough, but obviously with England getting through, that's been cancelled. Yeah, and they can only have their pitch on that day. So we're going to regroup and train Tuesday, Thursday this week. Then we travel to Worksop on Saturday, which will be a really tough game. And they've just signed sort of Aaron Martin and people like that. So that'll be a really tough game for us, but something that we want for pre-season. Then we play, we've got Frickley, and we do play Stocksbridge in pre-season as well, which a few people have raised their eyebrows at, as not teams don't normally play teams in their league, but for me, we only play them twice in a season, so playing them in pre-season won't be shouldn't be an issue. So
I mean, if that's not the ultimate marker of how pre-season's going, I suppose, facing a team that you'll be seeing later in the season anyway.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I don't think you want to play a team on your last pre-season game that's going to be at your level. So it don't matter to me that it's in our league or in a different league that's, Midland or whatever. It's we're only going to play Stocksbridge. Listen, if the fixtures come out and we're playing them on first game of season, that might be a game that gets rescheduled or something. But fingers crossed it don't come out as the first game of season. So yeah, we're busy just getting training sessions in as many as we can, and focusing on getting the rest. I think we've got 5 pre-season games left. Unfortunately, only one at home because the pitches had to have some work done to it in regards to meeting sort of criteria and stuff. So we are away for a lot of us games. So if any fans were wondering why, that's obviously why we've not had any home friendlies at this moment in time, unfortunately.
Fair enough, but I'm sure that surface will be immaculate when the work's complete. Grant, thank you very much for joining us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show tonight. It's been a real pleasure to have you on, mate. And if I'm going to make you feel old, go rewind out 10 or 11 years. And I remember commentating on you when you were playing for Bradford Park Avenue, when I was commentating for BCB. And I think you were a reasonably new signing under John Deasy. Actually, I'm going to have to ask one more question. What was he like to play under? Because John Deasy, from the outside looking in, he was, put it this way, he was always a tricky character to interview anyway. He never seemed to like doing interviews. Maybe it was just me. Lewis, you worked with him as well.
Yeah, I think probably Lewis will probably agree. DC, yeah. To be fair, absolutely great guy. Lovely guy. Would never have a bad word to say about him as a person at all. Enthusiastic, loved his football. Obviously got a lot of knowledge and did really well at Bradford Park Avenue. Did a lot for me as a player, and someone I've got a lot of respect for. In game, and like I said, I think he's at Liversidge now, obviously, so probably I do speak to him regularly on phone anyway, but I'll cross paths with him this season. hopefully he'll not end in fisticuffs. But no, a great guy. Not someone who, to be fair, likes the camera. So I think that's probably maybe why he come across a little bit.
I was about to say we might struggle to get him on the show in future weeks because he never did like the attention really, but absolutely lives and breathes an non-league game. Grant, as I said before, thanks for joining us on the West Yorkshire Football Show.
You're welcome. I've loved it. Anytime, guys. Good luck with it.
Cheers, Grant. All the best. All the best for the season, mate.
Cheers, fellas. Bye bye.
Bye bye. That's Grant Black there, the Brighouse Town manager. I had to ask him, Lou. I had to ask you about DC then because he was. Honestly, like when you don't have a microphone in front of him, cracking bloke, but you put that microphone in front of him and he let you know full well that he did not want to be asking the questions that you were going to ask.
About 10 years ago, I was probably about 2 or 3 stone lighter, and that benefited me because I had to basically at full time run straight out the back of the stadium and be ready at his car to catch him for an interview. That was just for the club's official website because he wasn't hanging around with John. But no, proper good football guy, still bump into John and speak to him regularly. Like I say, does live and breathe football in this area. And listen, obviously I know he's had other jobs since, but selfishly at Avenue, if Grant has a similar style of football and just as successful as what DC was at Avenue, then definitely onto a winner. He's definitely somebody that you can take a lot of learnings from. So yeah, watching him and Grant on the dugouts this season could be interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned Liversidge there. You mentioned Liversidge. Wasn't Ross McCormack at Liversidge?
Yeah. He was.
Football, wasn't he, for about a week?
I'll be honest. I'm not. Look, I don't want to upset anyone, but I'm not quite sure how many times he was actually spotted in Liversidge or at the ground. I mean, that's just from looking from the outside in. It looks to be one of those things that kind of was announced, and then, I mean, to your knowledge, Lewis, do you ever remember him making any appearances? Or many?
When I was there, I didn't see him make an appearance, no. But yeah, I don't think he's playing this season at Liversidge.
No, I think they have. I think they've announced that he's no longer in that role there since. But again, though, it goes to show, like we were saying earlier, the likes of George Boyd playing at Wythenshawe, and so you just do end up spotting these. I'd say Pascal Chimbonda at Skelmersdale United as manager, And that brilliant story last season of when he was given a touchline ban as manager for like 2 or 3 games, so he registered himself as a player and just played instead of managing on the touchline, which is
genius,
absolutely genius.
Love it.
There's another one this pre-season where I think Effie Ambrose used to be at Celtic, their centre back. He's gone to Bury, so you see. You see some of these that fly from the top leagues and somehow end up in non-league. It's great, but yeah, listen, thanks to Grant and the guys at Brighouse for organising that. He's a real top guy, Grant. He's mellowed. He's mellowed now as a manager. I've known Grant for a bit, and yeah, he's a bit more chilled than I think he used to be. So, but it'd be good to bump into, and I know, like I said, he's happy to help us out on the podcast. So yeah, cheers, Grant, for that. It's appreciated.
And bump into is very likely. We've said before, and we'll possibly touch on it a little bit later on, but that MPL East, the fact that you've got the likes of Avenue, Brighouse, Gareth, Pontefract Collieries, Ossett United, and Emley. I think that's the 7 West Yorkshire sides that, correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, but I think that's all 7 of the West Yorkshire sides that are in that. So there's every week you're going to get a derby of some description, surely, in West Yorkshire. It's certainly going to feel like that.
Yeah, when the fixtures come out, I think everybody will be looking at the fixtures across the board and picking out the games. And obviously, we know in non-league as well, where the Christmas kind of fixtures, the Boxing Day and New Year's fixtures are very local as well. So it gives people the opportunity to go. So yeah, it's always exciting when the fixtures come out. We know the big boys in the AFL have had theirs, and it's now our turn in non-league to get them soon.
Yeah, no, National League, National League North and South is Wednesday, and I think the MPL is the same, Lewis? Is Wednesday the 10th?
Who knows?
Imminently. Let's turn our attentions then back towards the top of the pyramid for us in West Yorkshire, and we'll go to Leeds United now. Brownie, a bit of a strange week, kind of. I mean, we were debating how to title it, really, weren't we, earlier on? And I went with a little bit quiet in terms of the incomings, but actually, it's not the incomings that necessarily, or the lack of, that are the worry at the moment. It's players seem to be just leaving left, right, and centre. I mean, somebody really needs to shut the gate because they're just wandering out at this stage. It's like Apple.
Well, it's funny because half of them have been in the training videos, and then a day later, it's like, no, he's gone. He's another one. He's gone. Do you want me to give you the full list?
I was about to say, go on,
Yeah.
talk us through the way it's going. Who's left? Is it easy to say who's left in the building then?
It's almost like we've done prep as well. This is great. We've done prep.
I know. Honestly, it's crazy, isn't it? I've got a tab open and
He's
everything.
opened some tabs, yeah. Like
Don't get that with Jason Bucket here when Jay's here, you see. Proper research here, I tell you. Right, so this is the outgoing so far, right? So Archie Gray, obviously, that was a big one. Lewis Sinisterra, got 23 million for him as well, which is bad. Mark Rocker, Charlie Cresswell, Robin Koch, Jamie Shackleton, Luke Ayling, Christopher Clarkson, Sam Greenwood, Darko JB, Sonny Perkins, Cody Drama, and Ian Pervader. So that's
the last
the
three
outgoing. Well, interesting with Cody Drama. So we offered him a contract. So if he got picked up by another club, we'd get a compensation fee or something. But he's a free agent now. And so is Ian Pervader as well, apparently. So yeah, they're just kind of out there in the wild. So yeah, I don't know what. I mean, Cody Drama is a mad one as well because he was someone who I think he got Player of the Season at Luton, and where was the other team? Was it Millwall? I think he got Player of the Season as well. And he you know, everyone at Leeds was clamouring for him to be the starting right back. And then he had an absolute shocker at the start of last season, and he was basically never seen again. So he's out of contract, so interesting one there. But yeah, tons and tons of outgoings. So I think a few in the fan base are getting a little bit twitchy, as Leeds United fans tend to do.
I was about to say, a Leeds United fan base, twitchy, whatever.
Yeah.
Next.
Exactly, yeah. So if you look on the Twitter feed now, it's just any news, and all the journalists are getting bugged. So you got Nancy at the Athletic, who we get on the show, Popey, they're just inundated now. Graham Smith at YEP, they're just, hey, come on, any news? What's going on?
People
but
it's Ben to announce signings, even though it's not their job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. But the big one today is Charlie Cresswell moving on, and it's a bit of a strange one with Charlie because I think we had this idea, homegrown, centre-back, played for England, international youth levels to a good level. And it's just not happened for him at all. It's a really bizarre one. It's a bit sad, actually, really, because, to be honest, it doesn't really impact us. I mean, he made less than a couple of appearances last season. It was a really bizarre season for him last year, just had no game time at all. And yeah, it's a bit sad because we thought this was going to be the guy who, homegrown, he's going to be there for 10 years, he's going to clock up 300 appearances, blah, 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 blah. Like you always wish with homegrown talent, but you always kind of think it's going to be like that. But it's not worked out, and he's gone for a pretty small fee, I think 3 million or something to lose in France, which, the deal took ages to get over the line. It's been on, it's been off.
I was going to say, because I remember we was talking, I think, to Jay last week, before he jetted off on his holidays, that the deal at that stage was effectively off, and that the move to Toulouse wasn't going to happen. Obviously, a week later, here we are. It's all done and dusted, back over the line, and off to the south of France he goes.
Yeah, exactly. Can I just say I am the reserve Jay tonight, by the way. I'm only in this slot because Jay's decided to go on holiday. Like, outrageous, but there you go. He deserves a break, though, doesn't he? He works hard, the fella.
At least he's done it during pre-season and not during the main season.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was on again, it was off again, and now he's gone. Some fans are thinking, could it come back to haunt us? If he develops the way we thought it would do at one point, it could come back to bite us. But I mean, I have to say, apart from a game he had against West Ham, where you're probably talking 2 or 3 seasons ago, where he was outstanding against Antonio, he's just not done anything. I mean, his appearances last season, I mean, me and Jay went to the League Cup game where he played, I believe, and he was just he just didn't seem quite up to the level, to be honest, which was a surprise. So it's, another departure. To be fair, although there is a lot of outgoings, I don't think any of the outgoings, apart from Archie Gray, you would say damage us, really, or make us weaker. A lot of the loan players going that have been gone for a year anyway, and then mostly it's just fringe players like Jamie Shackleton. So we're freeing up wages. I think you'll see it happen in the transfer market. We'll get a lot of incomings, I would predict. And if they do as good a job as they did last season, then it could be exciting seeing what what players come in. My only concern is, it needs to get done, because last year we got a lot of late signings, and then it's a case of, blending them in together and getting them in the team, getting them up to speed, and et cetera, et cetera. So, you're hoping this year we get it done pretty quickly and, give them that time in pre-season to get to know each other and hopefully win the league.
Is it a little surprising that, one or two of the younger ones that are classed as the homegrown, the likes of Drama and Shackleton and Cresswell, have moved on, given that you've then brought back Alex Cairns today from Salford City to be third choice goalkeeper? What is he, 31 years old?
Yeah.
It's a little bit, I'll be honest, from his perspective, I imagine he's being paid well, but it's a little bit of an odd one, because he's easily a first choice League One, bottom end League One, top end League Two keeper. So he must be presumably being compensated fairly well to become the third choice keeper back at Anfield and fill a homegrown slot.
Yeah, 9 years after leaving the club. I think he only made one appearance when he was there, but ticks the box with the homegrown aspect of it. I've heard so. I know Charlie going out, Archie losing them. There's clearly a quarter to fill. So it ticks a box. I think he will be compensated probably slightly more than you would expect for a third choice goalkeeper. But it gets it done. It ticks that box, and it's a shame to see homegrown talent leave in the first place, really. But yeah, hopefully he can do a job anyway.
I mean, I'm just going to bring in Ian's question as well. Just seen this come up. Wasn't Sam Greenwood expected to do Leeds? Wasn't he fairly regular under Bielsa? I mean, he's another one. He was out on loan in Middlesbrough last season, and he's now gone out to Preston North End this season on loan.
Yeah, strange one with Greenwood. So I think it was kind of on the periphery when Bielsa were there, but when Jesse Marsh came in, Marsh absolutely loved him and kind of got him into games, started him, and I think he said he was one of the best players he'd played with or trained before, this kind of thing. And he suddenly seemed to be gathering a bit of momentum. For me, never good enough, though, at the top level. Definitely not a Prem player. And then after Marsh left, it kind of all faded. And then last year, I think he went on Middlesbrough. I think he started off pretty well, and then it all kind of faded again there. And yeah, we had a crop of these players where we expected big things. Gelhardt is probably the one where we all expected huge things, but
is he going to be the next one to just
possibly
next one to just be sold or loaned out and never to be seen again?
Yeah,
is he still there? Still at Leeds?
He's still there, and he played so minimally last year. I mean, it was ridiculous how little
he needs to go, doesn't he? Like,
He's
for his own sake, he needs to go and get games on, because I mean, how old is he now? 22, 23?
Yeah, probably 21, 22 now.
Like,
he's got to
when he came through at Wigan as well, he was such a highly rated prospect as well. And to see, I'm going to be honest, him kind of stagnate really at Leeds and not get the game time or go anywhere. He just needs, again, he's someone you think if he can just take a move to a League One side and flourish, he might be able to reignite his career. But yeah, he looks like the next one that needs to go and get games somewhere.
He's got it. It gets to that point, doesn't it, where you're looking at it going, for them, you almost just feel for the player themselves. It's like Jamie Shackleton. That's exactly what's happened with Shackleton. He's going to be, if he's not 25 already, he would be 25. It's like, mate, you've barely played. You've just got to go out and do it. And that's what they seem to be doing. They seem to be clearing the decks now. With Joffrey, it might be one last chance, one last season, because I don't know if we're going to do the thing. I don't know if we'll get as high a quality loan as like Jadon Anthony or someone like this season. I don't know what's going to happen on that front. So he might find himself just pushed up the pecking order ever so slightly. And it'd be nice to see, because I love Joffrey. He made a huge impact when he first came. He's probably one of the few, probably one of maybe like 3 criticisms I have of Bielsa is the fact that he didn't play Joffrey more. Is like that would be like one of them. Is I actually think he kind of not blocked him a little bit, but I think he should have got in over Bamford a few times in the Premier League. But yeah, it's a shame it's not happened so far. So but he might get one good goal, unless a decent fee comes in for him, of course.
You're keeping the cards really close to the chest out of it. It's a real. I think as an outside looking in, it's a real good way of doing your business without speculating, leaks coming out. It's really kind of, not undercover is not the right word, but it just seems to be done very professionally, very almost stealth-like. And you could almost expect Leeds to announce a signing. Well, I don't know, they've done it with Alec Cairns, haven't they, tonight? That's come out of nowhere. You expect it could happen now or the next day or two, or it could happen in a month, and you could announce 3 at the same time. But you just seem to be keeping it very close and very tight and very within the 4 walls, aren't they?
Yeah, it's watertight. Nothing gets out. I remember last year, Ampadu Rodon, that came out of nowhere. There was no speculation. And it makes me laugh, when you're seeing all these Twitter accounts pop up and they're like, rumour of so-and-so going to Leeds. And you just laugh because none of it's true. Until I see Nancy, Frosten, Adam Pope, Graham Smythe, until I see those guys tweeting it, say it's happened, I don't believe it. And there's almost no point kind of going around in circles looking at Twitter for your transfers with Leeds, because like you say, Lou, it's rock tight. And I love it, because for years we had so many embarrassing transfer dramas where stuff was getting leaked to Fabrizio Romano, and it was like the players on the runway. And then,
who was the striker?
Plane doesn't set off.
He went
Dieng,
to,
was it Dieng?
The end that went to, was it Marseille or something? Ended up in the end, the Senegalese striker, and that was again, that seemed to be the worst kept secret of Leeds United, and then it fell through and looked all a little bit. Leeds United left the egg on the face.
We wanted to play that game at the time. I think the owner at the time probably
loved the chase.
Loved the chase and loved the publicity of it, and loved the kind of, we're chasing this kind of top talent and it's exciting. Whereas I think the 49ers are the opposite. It's about business and it's about getting it done. And I much prefer it that way. It's a bit frustrating, when you're seeing all these outgoings, you're thinking, come on, let's get a push on. But let's not forget last week we signed Joe Rodon, which is absolutely huge, which kind of got smothered by the Archie Gray news. That's an unbelievable signing for a championship team. We've beaten out Premier League opposition for his signature. So it will happen. We've got to be patient, haven't we?
So, talking about believing it when you're seeing it, Jesse Marsh versus Marcelo Bielsa in the Copa America final, Brownie.
Oh, please. I mean, you know what? Fair play to Jesse Marsh. Fair play to Jesse Marsh. You got Canada to semi-final. I mean, admittedly, they've only won one game and they've managed to get through to the semi-final. But fair play. Exactly, yeah. But fair play to him. Bielsa. I mean, it's amazing to see how well he's doing at Uruguay. I mean, again, it's wherever this man goes, it's just undying loyalty from the fans and love and adoration. It's just. I mean, you know what me and Jay are like in that group chat when we start talking about Bielsa. We glaze over. We're just like, Bielsa.
I mean, so do the rest. So do the rest of us, mate. The rest of us glaze over, but in a completely different manner. I mean, if Jesse Marsh can absolutely shithouse his way to getting past Argentina in the semi-finals to face Bielsa in the final, and then shithouse that and win the game on penalties, I will. If Jesse Marsh wins the Copa America, can we just put something on you, Brown? Like you'll get a tattoo of him or something. I don't know. Like,
I think both Brownie and Jay would leave the group chat immediately.
I mean, it'd be a bit more peaceful at times in that case, but
Jesse Marsh wins the Copa America
ahead of Bielsa.
No, I just can't even imagine that scenario, to be honest. It feels like destiny, though. It does feel like it's destined to happen. I mean, it's wild, I mean, it's crazy seeing Bielsa and Rafinha the other night, hugging on the touchline. I think every Leeds fan looks at that and goes, Christ, did they play? Were they at our club? They were at Leeds. I mean, it don't feel real.
You've got to chuck in as well, Thomas Christensen, another Leeds link, obviously with what he's done with, of all the little nations, Panama, and he got them going. I think was it the quarters that they were knocked out at by Colombia, and I mean that's a heck of an achievement.
Yeah, he's done really well actually. He and it's funny with Thomas Christensen actually, because he's still kind of popular with Leeds fans. He's a lot of managers who end up leaving Leeds. It normally doesn't end very well, and the fan base kind of takes the mick out of him for the rest of their career. But with him, it's kind of like he had our goodwill, even though it did go wrong for him at the end. He's kind of a likable guy.
I did see, I saw a few tweets today when people.
Some people say I look like him. actually. Can we get a?
I'll let you find that picture. But I did see
Yeah.
quite a few people though that were saying, like if Thomas Christiansen had been given a better budget and that sort of thing, then they thought he would have succeeded at Leeds. So.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could have done. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a picture of Thomas Christiansen. Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves whilst
the one that looks most like him.
Yeah.
I've never seen Brownie and Thomas Christiansen in the same place at the same time.
To be fair, no, I think, you know what? He's better looking than me.
How is your was he not Danish stroke Spanish as well?
Yeah. And he played under Cruyff at Barcelona as well. So he's like, yeah, he's done really well at Panama. Unbelievably well at Panama. Right.
Ian's chucking a great question in for you whilst we talk about Leeds United managers. Do the fan base still like David Hockaday? Honestly, I wonder what he was doing now. The last time I found him on Football Manager, I think he was something like a youth development like head of youth development at like Loughborough University or something along those lines.
Yeah. Do you know what? To be fair to him, he did an interview like a few years after, and he came across pretty well. It was like, you know what? Actually, he never expected to get that job either.
Just like the rest of the world.
He had to be a little bit kind of, I don't know, believe in himself or be a bit bullish about it at the time, because a lot of people said he came across as a bit arrogant. But I get it actually, because can you imagine? Being thrown into that job, if you don't believe it, no one's going to bother.
Was it Forest Green in the National League that he came from?
Yeah. It was wild. Right, we're ready for this Thomas Christiansen. What do we think?
Here we go. After all this, is it going to be worth it?
My long lost twin. I don't know if it has. I'll try and do the expression as well.
I'm not going to lie, Browne. Looks absolutely nothing like you.
I was just thinking that, Luke.
I'm not going to pretend to be nice. I can't see it.
That was my celebrity lookalike for years as well. I've been hanging my hat on that one. Bloody hell.
Dash your dreams, brilliant, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And on that note, I think it's potentially time to move on from Leeds United. Let's turn our attentions to Huddersfield Town. Now, Steven Browne, who couldn't be with us, has sent us a bit of a monologue about how things are going at Huddersfield Town. 4.5 minutes.
Are there any analogies in it? Any analogies about soup? Or
you will find out in due course, my mate. You will find out in due course. But the best thing is, he's recorded this video, waiting for his train on Huddersfield Station. Enjoy.
What a legend.
Sorry, lads, that I can't be on the show tonight. Just wanted to do a quick video about what was going on in the world of Huddersfield Town. I'm currently at Huddersfield train station, about to get on a train, but I thought I'd just do a quick video, so apologies if you hear any of the train announcements in the background. So Huddersfield beat Guiseley 7-0. Chris and Lewis went to the game with myself. It was a fantastic occasion. Guiseley, great club. We really obviously respect them as well in terms of what they're doing in pre-season, and hopefully they go on and have a good campaign. Obviously we report on them too, with our close ties that we have with all the West Yorkshire clubs. Obviously I'm going to just concentrate on what Huddersfield Town did, but yeah, we played two first teams, and there was some great football played. I thought Josh Cromer had a really good game. I thought Jonathan Hogg played really well. Bolker in the second half did well. Reece Healy looks absolutely on fire, if I'm honest. Turned 3 or 4 times, just absolute magic. And if he can replicate that in the form in League One, then I think he's going to have a really good campaign. Town also obviously beat Emley in pre-season. The club's just announced their Austria tour, where we play Limassol, we play Hertha Berlin, and we also play US Lecce. So it's going to be a tough pre-season really over in Austria, in a warm training camp. But obviously most teams now go abroad and see what they can do, and I think it's going to be a really good chance for Duff to get to know his squad a little bit more. You can find out a little bit more about your players when these tours happen. Famously at Town, obviously David Wagner took his team to Sweden, and they were doing fishing and God knows what else, building fires and camping out under the stars. But it's not going to be quite like that in Austria. But I'm sure Duff will learn a lot about his team. So it's going to be good. Then I think we come back and we play Harrogate
in the last pre-season game before the League One season kicks off on the 10th. And I'm really looking forward to it. You know, pre-season sort of excited me now, to be honest, for the League One campaign. We've made 4 signings, all good signings. Sorensen from Lincoln, Mikael Miller from Plymouth, a left wing back who's really pacey, and hopefully can stay injury free. We've also signed Anthony Evans from Bristol Rovers, obviously an attacking centre attacking midfielder, and one that has, you know, got a really good pass on him. Also a hell of a shot if you see, you know, how he can attack the ball. He scored some absolute thrilling goals for Bristol over the last couple of years. And then we've got Herbie Kane, who obviously been at Barnsley for 4 years and has done a really good job there. You know, his contract ended there and decided to come again and sign for Huddersfield under Michael Duff. So I think, you know, the 4 signings, we've got a quality. I'd like to see a striker in, if I'm honest. You know, bolster that department really with some quality in there. Not sure if, you know, Simpson, and we haven't seen anything of Kyle Hudlin at the moment, and obviously Harrott's not been involved either. So that's sort of 3 strikers that we've got at the club that haven't really been involved, to be honest. So I'd like to see a couple of strikers come in, or at least one if we can. Obviously missed out on Alfie May, but there's plenty more chances out there to get a good striker, and we'll see. Building nicely, like I say, Michael Duff obviously training hard on the training ground, and we look fit. We look, you know, we look at it, and we look like we've got a bit of a system going, and kind of knowing what we want to do in the season. So it's looking good, and I hope you have a great rest of the show, guys. And yeah, please subscribe to the channel. Comment on this video in terms of for the stream, and just get involved. But thanks for everybody supporting the West Yorkshire football show. It's really appreciated. All right, see you later, guys.
There we go.
He's getting excited, isn't he? Look at him. He's getting
Look at his
excited
little
again.
face.
He's loving it. What were he like at the game? Were he loving it? Were he a bit happy?
I just hope he's caught his train, by the way.
That'd have been great, wouldn't it? A train just going by it back
Just
there.
goes past.
You're right, though. He's you know, he's quite a happy little terrier at the moment, isn't he? He's looking forward to the League One campaign. Let's be honest, if we'd have rewound 3 months ago, not even that, 2 months, he wasn't looking forward to a stay in League One, was he? To be fair, so he's a bit more rejuvenated.
League One's gonna be tough, though, isn't it? When you were talking to the guy from Lincoln, you know, and when he ran through all the teams, you're like, oh, actually.
Yeah, when we spoke to Gary Hutchinson from the real EFL, he yeah, you're right. It's to be fair, you can look across, I think, the whole EFL, even the Championship. I know what what Jay's been saying about the Championship won't be as tough as it was last year, but actually the fact that there are potentially less sides that you would look at as being title contenders, I actually think that makes it a little bit tougher on the face of it, really. And then, as I said, for League One, there's some big hitters in that league. Some big hitters in that league. I mean, Lou, what did you make of the way that Town were, in particular, on Saturday against Guiseley? Obviously, for Guiseley, it was their first run out of the season, their first pre-season. Huddersfield had a couple already.
Yeah, it's so hard to judge, and I do say this about pre-season, that the first 2 or 3 games are fitness based, aren't they, for any clubs? And then obviously Grant said very similar, doesn't he? And I always think towards the end of pre-season, especially the last 2, really give an indication of how progressive you think the season could be. From Huddersfield's perspective, you know, they are. I mean, crikey, they're using the whole squad out, but they used the whole squad against Emily in three quarters. In 3 quarters,
in 3/3.
Yeah, and obviously the game against Guys with 45 minutes each. Look, you know, they look sharp, they looked on it. It is listen, it's levels, isn't it? There's a huge gap between Huddersfield Town and Guys. Let's not disguise that fact. You know, Guiseley had, you know, quite a few trialists out there. They had a couple of first teamers missing as well. But from Huddersfield's perspective, you know, they did look sharp. There were a couple of moments where you were a bit like, you know, that needs to be sharpened up. There were, you know, guys that did probably attack them a little bit more in that first half, and they had a few chances. But you're going to get that in pre-season. I think Downsy made a couple of good points about individual performances. I think Jonathan Ogg in that midfield just stood out because he's got that experience and just football brain at that level, even at pre-season. Reece Healy looked sharp. I thought Jaheim Headley in the second half looked quite lively as well. I think what they'll now need to do is to integrate the new signings as quickly as possible. I think the signings that they've made are actually on paper for League One, good, solid signings.
Yeah.
I think Herbie Kane's a good signing. I think Evans is a good signing. Sorensen's already showing in pre-season what he's capable of doing. I know that hurts you, Chris, but you could even see it against Isley that he will run that right flank all day long. And he's one of those players. I'm not saying every player, other players don't, but you can tell it really matters to him. The whole fitness, just the energy of your game. He just gets it, and he'll quickly, I think, become almost a bit of a fan's favourite, an unsung hero for him. He's that kind of player that might do the unsung work, but when you miss him, that's when you notice him. And like I said, I think they do need at least another striker, possibly two. I think there's going to be a few departures. They've got to make changes because there's some players like Downsy mentioned there that haven't featured yet. They didn't feature on Saturday. They weren't even in the squad. They weren't even named on a bench. So they are going to have to make changes. But listen, I think on the whole, they probably could do with a couple more in. But it's like we're speaking with Brownie about Leeds. They're probably doing a business very close to the chest. Only have to look at what's happened with Alfie May. It's been burnt as that women going to Birmingham. So you've got to do your business very shrewdly and almost kind of, like I say, stealth like what Leeds are doing. If Huddersfield to be challenging, I think we'll do okay. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be pushing up at the right end of the table. Like I say, they looked very fit. I would give that to Huddersfield. They did look very fit and lean. And I think that training camp in Austria will just sharpen that focus for them.
I mean, Lewis, despite the 7 goals, the absolute highlight of the afternoon was in the second half when Radulovic, who I'm not sure he's particularly the most well-liked by Town fans, and Downsy was just bemoaning how little he'd been involved in that second half, wasn't he? Oh, he's not been in the game. He's been anonymous. We've just been carrying him. And then 2 seconds after Downsy says that, a ball's put in from the left-hand side, and Radulovic is on the end of it to get I think it might be the 5th or 6th goal of the game. And it was one of those absolute, it's whatever the reverse of the commentator's curses. Like, he was saying how somebody's not been in the game in Radulovic and literally pops with a goal just like that. It was magic.
It was just gold, wasn't it? Absolute comedy.
You were in absolute stitches.
To be fair, I did have tears because it's one of those that, listen, we do jest with each other and sometimes we do have a laugh with Downsy, but that was just absolute comical because he was serious. He was waiting to make that point, wasn't he, when he were looking at us both? And we're like, Downsy's just scored. Like, he said that and he's just scored. Like, number 23, yeah, he just scored. But yeah, no, it was a very funny moment, to be fair, and it's one that I wish we'd have recorded because that would have been played this week, next week, and a week after, and a week after that.
James, obviously a Town fan as well as keeping a close eye on Brighouse Town, he says that we're coming back just by the laws of averages. We have to see an automatic promotion one day. Let's turn our attentions then, moving on from Huddersfield Town to you guys and to Bradford City. And Tyreek Wright is in the building. Is he the right man for the job? And then when it came to pre-season, underway on Saturday, how did you enjoy your trip to Chorley?
My trip to Chorley were all right. New ground, nice little old school ground. Luke told me that it was an old school ground.
Great, isn't it?
It's a cracking ground, isn't it? And the wonderfully named Victory Park. Yeah.
I noticed it said Chorley Sports Club was on the sign, so I wonder if they play other sports there as well. It didn't actually say Chorley Football Club. But yeah, nice little ground. Could have a beer watching the game. Unfortunately, it looked like Bradford might have had a few beers before the game because no, I shouldn't say that because apparently they've been they've been doing double sessions all week. I'm told, very focused on fitness. I believe that Graham Alexander's very keen to get the fitness levels up. He's not been happy with that since he's been in the club. So they have been doing double sessions all week. But then they played 2 teams, one for the first half, one for the second. We counted up, I think we got to 10 players that didn't feature in either, we had a youth
Interesting.
team. Yeah, now some of them presumably injured. I think Graham Alexander said in the paper since Saturday that 3 or 4 of them are injured or not quite ready, haven't been training, not like seriously injured, but didn't want to risk them kind of thing in the first pre-season friendly. There were some of them that weren't mentioned, don't know what's happening with them. There was a youth team player played at right back, looked quite out of his depth in the first half. We had a trialist in goal who was definitely at fault for the second goal. We lost 2-0, by the way. Second half, we were a lot better. Obviously didn't score, but did play a lot better. Player-wise, it was good to see Alex Patterson back after his long-term injury. Good to see Jake Young back after his long-term injury. Patterson and Jamie Walker, probably the standouts in the second half, as Jamie Walker normally is when he plays, to be honest. Massive player for us if he can stay fit. Gabe Wadsworth played, Noah Wadsworth's brother, who Noah obviously left this summer, has been signed on at Hull for their development squad. But his brother's entered his first professional contract at City. He played at right wing back in the second half and looked a real prospect. Hopefully, he's a Bobby Poynton type player, and we see bits of him next season because he looked talented. He didn't look out of place at all. But yeah, never good to lose your first pre-season friendly, but not to overreact. Like I said, they've been doing double sessions all week, heavily focused on fitness, and I don't know whether that was Charlie's first game or not, to be honest. They had Matt Unwin in goal, who used to play for Bradford City a few years ago, and he had a good game. He had a couple of decent saves, to be fair, a couple from Tyler Smith in the second half. So, yeah, not to overreact. We've got Guiseley next Saturday in our second pre-season friendly. There's a couple of other games that we're playing where they've been listed as a Bradford City 11, so you presume that they'll be mainly the youth team or possibly the odd trialist here and there. The next first team one is Guiseley next Saturday. Of the players, like I said, that didn't play, he mentioned Brad Halliday, Callum Johnson, Aidan Baldwin not being quite fit enough to train properly, so he didn't want to risk them in the first friendly. Callum Kavanagh, I believe, he said in the paper, had felt a twinge after one of the training days, so he didn't want to risk him either. Of the other players that didn't play, nothing really mentioned other than, obviously, you brought him up at the start, Chris, Tyreek Wright, new signing. I think he'd only trained with us once or twice, possibly, before the game, so he wasn't risked either. Whether he's the right man, I don't know. Graham Alexander pinpointed him as somebody that he wanted all the way through pre-season. He was brilliant in his first spell with us when we had him on loan from Aston Villa. Really, really good. Played as a left winger, real goal threat. Played off the front man a little bit too. I believe that we had a deal had pretty much agreed to sign him permanently after his 6 months with us, and then Plymouth came in at the last minute. Who were obviously, we were in League Two, they were at the top end of League One at the time, looking like going up to the Championship. And he took that move and went to Plymouth, presumably, like I said, better prospects as a club at the time, probably on more money as well, and they did go up. But he's not really hit it off at Plymouth. He came back to us on loan for the second half of last season and was used mainly. He played off the front a couple of times, scored a couple of goals playing off the front at Accrington when we won 3-0. But towards the end of the season and in that 7 or 8 game run that we had at the end of the season, he was playing at left wing back, and I believe that's where Graham Alexander plans on using him. Whether that's the right move going forward, we shall see. We have always obviously got the option to play him in other positions if we want to. A little bit concerning that we've ignored other possible left wing back options over the summer because there were a few available. You know, Nicky Cadden's available. Tessarula's gone from Crawley to Notts County. Longello's gone from Accrington to Swindon. Yeah. 2 or 3 there that you would have hoped we might have looked at, but he's nailed his close to the mast. He wanted Tyreek right back. He sees him as his left wing back option going forward, and if he can recreate his form from his first spell, it's a great signing. And obviously in League Two, especially at home, we are attacking a lot. So he'll use his attacking instincts, and he could hopefully, like I said, prove a good signing. He's got home now. I believe he's very happy at the club. He knows the staff. He knows the players. So let's hope he settles and he becomes a really good signing for us and nails that left wing back swap down.
Before we completely leave the Chorley game behind, I've got to ask you, did you get any food whilst you were there? Because they've got one of the most efficient ways of having catering at a football game and one door out and a massive, almost like a fish and chip shop style setup at Chorley. And the food is really good. What? You know it's always
I
a
didn't.
priority for me, Lou. You know it's always a priority. Food and non-league grounds.
Oh dear.
I didn't actually. I know I ranted on a bit there about the game and started it right and answered it all in one go. But food-wise, no, I didn't. Should I have done, Chris?
You should have done. You should have done. Very good there. I mean, you're a northern non-league stadium, and I'd say one of the best ways of like having it in most efficient ways I've ever seen at a football ground. Come on, Lou, you must have sampled the food at Chorley.
I have, yeah. Is it Charlie where it's got a really good butter pie? Is that the one?
We went
right.
into the.
Have we done the food
ranking?
ranking?
The social club when we got there and had a pie.
Not yet, but we need to do that this season.
And then we came out and watched the first half, and then there was a van next to the social club, and I went there and got a bottle of Coke, but I didn't buy any food. I'm now wishing I had.
Oh, you never know. Let's
Get back down there, Gaz. Go on, get down there. Get it ready for the show. Come on.
Well, that's true. Actually, isn't that far for you? Let's just see what the FA Cup throws up for you later in the season. I mean, actually, yes. In terms of the food rankings, that's a great idea, Brownie. Especially with not just the 92, mate. The non-league C-round there has got you've got the best chips in non-league football at Bradford Park Avenue. Probably one of the best burgers in non-league football is at Ecclesfield United as well, like on the doorstep in Bradford. So there's some, it's a great. There we go. We've got a new series.
Yeah,
born here. A new series is born.
We're growing.
Hey, it might be a new angle to bring more viewers in. Gaz,
to be fair, I think I might be growing after all them food rankings, to be honest.
As you mentioned, the pre-season for City, it's Pickering Town on Tuesday night with Bradford City 11, and then on Saturday, Guiseley at Nethermore Park, one that you would expect to be kind of matching with the first team squad again. Is it a game? Are you going across to Guiseley on Saturday?
I'm not. I'm arranged to meet some friends on Saturday, so we're going to watch the cricket if the weather's good. But Guiseley have to be given credit there actually, because I don't know if you saw a statement that came out of Bradford last week. They were due to be playing Scunthorpe on Saturday. And Scunthorpe called it off reasonably late in the day, saying that their pitch wasn't ready and that ours wasn't either. I believe that's not gone down very well with Graham Alexander and Bradford City, and they've been scrambling around, and Guiseley have kindly stepped in and agreed to play us on that day. So they deserve some credit there at short notice for giving us a game. That'll be our second first team friendly. It's always been one that's always regularly on the calendar as well. To be fair, I'll give Ian that as well. Food's not too bad over at Scotland, but as for Guiseley, it's always one that's generally been on the calendar as long as I can remember. The fact that you get your Bradford versus you get Guiseley usually against a combination of Huddersfield, Bradford, and Leeds United. Obviously, it's Leeds under 21s that are coming later on in pre-season, but it'll be good to have Bradford City back at Nethermore. Yeah, I don't believe. I think it's a couple of years since we played them, Chris. But you're right. Previously, over the last sort of 10 years, we always did play them every pre-season. Not sure why we've not over the last couple of years, but yeah, it's back on the calendar this Saturday. And like I said,
the Mark Bauer link is back there as well, and he'll be popular with Bradford City fans after doing all that punditry for BBC Radio Leeds over the course of last season as well. Yeah, a popular figure at City. Played a lot of games for us down the years before even. I think he was partner for Weatherall at centre back for quite a while as we were dropping down the leagues. Because I played a lot of games, came through the youth system. Might have even been in the squad when we were in the Premier League. Definitely in the Championship. He was around the squad as a young lad. And obviously he's gone on to have a steady, good career in non-league management. So yeah, it's nice to reacquaint ourselves with him and see how we get on against him on Saturday. Going forward, in terms of the transfers and the recruitment, is there anything on the grapevine? Is there anything that you're hearing across social media from a Bradford City perspective? Bradford City fans always get carried away on social media, and like Brownie was saying before, you can't really believe anything until it comes from Simon Parker or Radio Leeds, really. There's nothing, no names, no specific names. Graham Alexander said at the fans forum that I went to a couple of weeks ago that we were looking at 2 or 3 more. There's only one coming since then. It was Tyreek Wright. He said that there were a couple of them were likely to be loans. Whether we need players out before players come in, because I've totaled up our squad size is 26 at the moment, and Graham Alexander's talked about not wanting a bloated squad next year, and how it was too big since he's taken over.
that we needed to cut down on numbers this year. I believe there are players that we definitely are willing to let go. 3 names have been dropped in the paper more than once in Adam Wilson, Kevin McDonald, Verdane Oliver. Adam Wilson and Verdane Oliver both featured on Saturday. Kevin McDonald didn't. Whether we need those to move on before we get the 2 or 3 more in that Graham Alexander wants, I don't know. Personally, we look stacked at centre-back. We've got a few centre-backs in the building, but when you look at them, none of them are specifically pacey. I would like to see, if possible, a pacey centre-back brought in at some point, because there were times last season and the season before where Critchlow's pace and Tompkinson or Origorki's pace bailed us out. And I think that, especially when you're attacking a lot at home, to be hit on the break, you need pace. If you caught up the pitch, you need defenders to be able to get back. I would like to see a bit of pace brought in. If we're going to be playing 3 centre-backs, the 2 flanking ones, not necessarily the central one, but the ones playing on the left or the right could do with a bit of pace. That would be something I'd be looking at first, team-wise. Squad-wise, if McDonald and Oliver go, we need cover for Smallwood and Cook. So,
as regards to centre halves, though, given obviously you say you've got a few on the books already, is there any that you would be open to see making way and moving on if it meant that a pacier centre half can come in to replace? Is there anyone that you see not featuring as much as the others?
The only one you could say possibly that didn't feature that often under Alexander last year was Sam Stubbs, but I like Sam Stubbs. So,
yeah,
you know,
good player.
For me, he's a great player. If he's not got pace, but if he's flanked by pace, I think he's one of the top. He can be one of the top centre backs in League Two. Kieran Kelly featured regularly last year. Alexander's brought in Aidan Baldwin and Neil Byrne, and then obviously we've got Callum Johnson as well, who has mainly been a right back throughout his career, but it was mentioned when he signed that he can play right centre half. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. I just do worry about the lack of pace, but I might not be rewarded. We might not get one brought in. It depends, like you said, Chris, whether we're willing to let anybody go. I would see, like I said, Verdane Oliver up front and Kevin McDonald being available for transfer. I would imagine that they will be replaced if they go. Centre-back's the sort of iffy one. But the priority for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see what the time brings for Bradford in terms of the transfer market, whether there are many ins and outs coming up over the course of the next few weeks. And a tip for any Bradford City fans going to Nethermore Park on Saturday, chicken pie, top notch. Moving on then to Lewis and the non-league scene across our region. What's caught your eye in the last week or so?
Well, not much at Halifax. Been very, very quiet at Halifax. Even almost FedEx accounts not had anything for the past 4 days.
I mean, I don't know what Dave's had nothing to tweet about. Like, he's had to regurgitate goals from 1985, I think.
When did he say stuff starts happening at Halifax? Did he say it was in July or?
Yeah,
well, he said it.
He gave like a set date, didn't he? Like
he was
July the 10th.
Well, he was hoping the 1st of July. He was hoping it would be when contracts expire from last season, and that there would hopefully be a flourish of new arrivals at the Shea bang on the 1st of July, and that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, it's nothing that we don't expect, is it? Cause they do the business again, just quietly go about just do what they do, don't they, every year, which, listen, it's relatively worked for them, hasn't it? They've done reasonably well considering the resources and budgets that they've got compared to some of the bigger clubs. So I think there'll probably be some movement in the next 2 or 3 weeks. From last time we caught up last week, Jamie Cook has signed that contract to stay on for another season, which was widely expected. Like I said, when we spoke Monday, it was probably going to be done in the next 24, 48 hours, and that was confirmed. But yeah, there's been no additions other than, like I say, Will Smith. There you go, boys, fill your boots. And also Tom Pugh as well. But yeah, apart from that, lower down in terms of pre-season and other notable signings, so Farsley have added Danny Greenfield, who's previously been at Gateshead. Good little signing for him. Really adds a bit of balance with his left foot. So that'll be an interesting signing. And also
for those the weekend as well.
Yeah, he scored in like I said, they beat Durham District into the North Counties East Prem Division 1. They beat them 6-1, but also off the field of They started to strengthen the off-field team.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stokey was used to be the Route 1 Rovers manager. He's now part of the team at Farsley. So we're hoping, actually, ironically, we're speaking to him this evening. So we might be able to get hopefully some representation from Farsley on the show to just shine a light on the team there from the Citadel, because, let's be honest, they're the highest ranked part-time team in this region.
That was a mouthful.
Just I think Ian's put a comment in as well about a Farsley signing, hasn't he?
Dylan Newby.
Used to be at City.
Yeah, scored a lot of goals for our youth team. For when the youth team was successful a couple of years ago, had a really good record. Scored a lot of goals. I think he was on loan. Were you on loan at Farsley last year, Lou?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Obviously, didn't work out for him at Scunny, and he's now signed permanent at Farsley.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And I think, I think from Farsley's perspective, it's a really good signing because he knows the people already in the building. He had, like I say, he did well there on his loan spell. And it's probably one of those moves that, with the greatest respect to Yumby and even Farsley, he's capable of probably getting up to the National League as well with a good season under his belt, of the very top end of National League North. Like I said, it just didn't work out for him at Scunny. So, yeah, that's a really, really good move from Farsley. They have got a bit of a bloated squad. I think, they've got about 23, 24 players from last time I checked. So it will be interesting to see what their squad looks like come the first game of the season. Again, they didn't post what the team was against Stirling District, but they're away at Eccleshill tomorrow. So again, they just carry on momentum there. Spoke about Guiseley. Again, there's nothing really much to add from what we've already said. Really good, solid signings. It's not a fair representation of probably what I think the season will go on from what we saw on Saturday. Moments, and I know listening to Matt Bauer's interview with the club at the end of the game, he did say there were positives, and I agree. I think there were some, glimmers of hope there for some of the Guiseley fans to hold on to. They're not going to be playing the same calibre of team like Huddersfield every week. Obviously, we're going to be faced up against Bradford City, but I think for the likes of Bowes and Bosch, we're going to really see where the team is at and probably identify those trialists that they can take forward. I think probably after the City game or release, and see where else some players can go. In terms of other pre-season, so Liversidge lost 2-1 to Northallerton. Again, not really seeing any new signing news about that one, but they did obviously start the pre-season and held the charity event on Sunday at Claiborne. Ironically, Emily lost to Bury 1-0 from Ruben Jerome's goal back to haunt him. So that will obviously, probably hurt him a tiny bit. But and obviously speaking with the guys that we've done recently, and a really good club, they'll be looking just to be, consolidate this season. A couple of players coming in, as trialists that are well known in this league, so they should do okay. If we recruit well and replace the likes of Gooden and Jerome, who between them have probably had 20, 25 assists and probably about 30 goals between them. It's a big gap that they've got to fill. But across the rest of the pitch were solid. They should be fine in that league. Ilkley have lost a couple of players, ironically, to Campion. Both Joe Edmonds and Matty Swift have gone there. But they lost 4-0 to Ossett. That's a really good result for Ossett, actually, I think. There might be a bit of a dark horse with who they've signed. A few from Parkgate, who got promoted last season and beat Emily in the cup final. I know Duggan as well is one, I think, to watch out for this season in the Northern Premier League East. Ponty won.
Just to interject for a second, as for you mentioned Ilkley there, and obviously they'd lost to Ossett and they've lost a couple. For Ilkley, of course, for them, this is their first season since joining the Pyramid, where they've switched now from the Northwest counties. They've been allocated into the Northern Counties East League. It's going to be, I mean, look, we speak to Josh Chapman at Steeton on a fairly regular basis. We see him on the non-league scene on a regular basis too. Now, he's always said that for him, the Northwest is a bit more technical and the Northeast is more physical and organised, shall we say. I mean, how do you see it? And also, how hard do you think that's going to be actually for Sam Dexter and for Oakley to adjust to this new league? Because everyone's going to be an unknown for them compared to previous seasons, but equally, the positive, I guess, is they're going to be an unknown for everybody else in that division.
Yeah, I think, I think they'll be okay. They've had some relatively decent seasons, haven't they, in the Northwest counties. They've pushed the likes of the close. They've been in the playoffs, so I know they just missed out on the last game last season. I think they'll probably be hurt by the two players who've gone to Campion, both Edmonds and Swift. Two of the key players. But I think, listen, they're going to be in a tough division. The likes of Wakefield have recruited well. Wakefield are going to be one of the fancied favourites in Harrogate Railway potentially could be up there, and the likes of Durham District who've come up, and they're not going to find it easy. And how do I see them going? I'd probably expect them to probably be mid-table towards the playoffs. But listen, it's one of those where it could be quite an open division. If there's anybody going to walk away with it, you're probably looking at the likes of Wakefield, potentially. But there is a few changes in that league. Like I say, South Leeds have come into there. Shelley have moved over as well from the North West Counties, over to the North East, to the North Counties East. So it's going to be, that could be a bit of an interesting one to see of where both divisions lie against each other. So that'd be a good one. And like I said, mentioned Campion, obviously tomorrow night they kick off they kicked off a pre-season last week at Horbury, 1-3-2. They've started to announce some re-signings and signings, which are mentioned, as well as Callum Parker-Wells, who's been at Silsden and Route 1. But they've also re-signed Aidan Kirby, who's a big part of the club there. Nicky Boschel, who's, just keeps on going, doesn't he? We've known him from Park Avenue and Guiseley, and various other clubs as well. And Joe Colley as well, who I like. I think Joe Colley could be a big season for him up front. And listen, last season we bumped into some of the guys at Campion when we went to watch Fackley midweek against Barnoldswick, and they've had a lot of trialists, a lot of new players coming in. They could be looking very different for this season from what they were last season and a season before that. They've got to somehow replace the goals and assists like Sir Marcus Day have given before he left to go to Australia, and obviously Paddy Sykes has gone to Avenue, playing his first game for Avenue at Campion tomorrow, which will feel a bit surreal for him. But like to Joe Colley, I think it's a big season for him. So, and they've signed Zach Khan as well, who's just scores goals for absolute fun, who's been at Route 1. So Campion is signing players maybe from the division below, but have been at the top end of just scoring goals and from a North West County. So interesting recruitment from the likes of James and Lee there at Manningham Mills, and it'll be interesting to see how they go on this season, because they're probably one of the favourites to go up.
As you mentioned, we were at Fackley last Tuesday for that game against Barnoldswick Town. It was a 3-2 win for Barlick. I mean, Fackley, I think they lost 3-2 as well on Saturday against Easington Colliery. Mm-hmm. Look, we saw Fackley quite a lot last summer in pre-season, and at the time, I think they conceded 13 goals, I think, in 3 games, and you kind of worried a little bit about how that would progress into the league. And typically, what do we know? They went on and had a really good campaign and finished just outside the playoffs. Where do you see Danny Forrest's side kind of going this season? Because obviously he's got a good mentality as Danny Forrest in terms of getting a good squad together. But Tom Greaves and the experience and the goals that he can get, even at his age nowadays, will be a miss to them since he's moved on.
Yeah, him in Chippendale as well. So that could be a loss of Fackley, but I think they've recruited all right. Obviously, I know they've got Tyweed Ahmed, who was at Selby last year, played his first friendly against Barnoldswick as a winger. Had a lot of trickery, a lot of footwork. Bradford based as well, so he'll be wanting to kind of show the rest of the clubs what he's capable of doing. How do I see him going? I think they'll do okay. I think, like I say, they've got a real strong knit group. I think that gets them over the line a lot, to be fair, at Fackley. And that's not disrespecting the quality, because they have got some real good quality in there. But I think that almost gained them an extra 6 to 9 points last season. Probably unfortunate to really miss out in the playoffs, but just probably needed that extra little bit of something to get them over the line, the likes of what Rossington Main had. Gareth and Albion had that little bit extra with the likes of Robbie Fox as well. So Fackley will be looking, I think, around the market to get someone else. And listen, there's going to be some teams pushing the likes of Campion. Golkan, I think, have recruited really well. Eccles, I've heard, have recruited, fairly decently as well, and hoping for a better season than last season. Parkgate have lost a couple of players to Ossett, but they flew and absolutely walked that division. Penison Church, I think, will be again looking to have a better season rather than missing out just on the last game. Silsden again will be hoping to push for people close to the playoffs. Taddy have lost a couple, ironically, to Avenue, so it's going to be another tight division. I think from Fackley's perspective, they'll probably look to go one better, knowing the likes of Foz there and Ben Higginson as well. Matt Dempsey will be looking to just keep pushing, and they've re-signed key players, which is a big bonus. Like Sir George Green is sticking around there, who's is an absolute such a talent as a kid, and he can run the pitch for them.
Yeah, his technical ability. I mean, even just on really simple things like deliveries of corners, like against Barlett last week, you just watched him, and every one of them was pinpoint into this kind of area. You can see why. Obviously, when he was a youngster at Bradford City and got that move to Everton, you can see why, because the technical ability is easily still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just have to watch him, don't you, when he's in possession, and he's also seems to take on a bit of a leadership role within that group as well.
Yeah,
which adds another string to his bow. So, listen, he's a talent. We've all known that over the years, and it seems that he's really well respected, really well liked at the club. And listen, if he's happy there, and he's playing his best football, that's all you can ask of a lad. Because at the end of the day, if you're watching a player with a smile on their face, that's all that really matters, especially at this level. So, fingers crossed that he has a really good, successful season for Fackley.
Absolutely. Any final little bits from the non-league scene? Have we covered everything? Obviously, as we mentioned before, all of this week's non-league games are going across the bottom of the screen as well. That'll be up for the duration of the show. There's a lot of games taking place tomorrow. For some reason, not much taking place on Wednesday anymore. Everything's been cancelled, which will come through in due course.
You just took words out of the mouth there. Is that, there's a couple of fixtures being rearranged from the Wednesday. That Campion Avenue one was arranged for the Wednesday. It is going to be quiet. So, again, it's just worth keeping an eye on. Obviously, we'll try and keep up to date on our account as well, but just keep an eye on some of the club's accounts, because even, like Gaz said, from City's perspective at Scunthorpe, you do get these almost last minute or, cancellations, postponements in pre-season where fixtures do change. So, again, if you can do, and listen, we all know around here in West Yorkshire, the weather's picking up a tiny bit. If you've got a spare night to go and watch a game, go and support your local team, as we always say.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on tomorrow night if you don't fancy staying in to watch Spain versus France. Let's turn then our attentions finally, last little bit to discuss, and that is England, of course, and the Euros, and the fact that we got through in glorious fashion against Switzerland to make a semi-final. Look at your disappointed faces.
Not disappointed. Not disappointed, mate.
It's you're just disappointed that I'm sitting here not gloating. Gloating is not the right word. Relieved that my positivity so far has been rewarded.
You got a bit carried away, didn't you, Chris? Because you put 4 successive semi-finals.
Yeah,
you love Gareth Southgate that much.
I'll be honest. Oh, come on, 3. As Meatloaf once said, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. 3 semi-finals in 4 major tournaments. I mean, to say that it was 24 years or something between 96 and Euro 2018. Sorry, the World Cup in 2018.
We're getting spoiled, aren't we? What's going on here?
Tell that to your faces. Like, come on.
We need to get over the line in one, don't we?
Yeah,
we do. Let's start then. Like, we'll not reflect too much on Switzerland and the penalties, because obviously Brownie, we did a bit of a post-match reaction on whatever day it was, Saturday I think it was. It's kind of all the days merge into one during these tournaments. But Gaz and Lou, we're into a semi-final. There's reasons to be optimistic and cheerful, aren't there?
Go on, Lou.
Lou didn't join us on Saturday, so he's dying to get this out. Oh, Gaz.
No, I was watching a game. I was watching a game having a curry from a well-known curry house in Bradford, which, to be fair, wasn't a bad way to actually watch the game.
Was it on your phone on a screen about 4 inches?
Absolutely. And to be fair, the way that we played sometimes, I'm glad it was that small. I do. Listen, I get it. I get the fact that we're not playing well, and we all want to win the tournament. And there's no doubt in the fact that results matter. We clearly do. I still don't think it was a good performance. I thought first half we were better than some of the other games, but our first shot on target went in out of the whole game. I think second half again, Southgate could have changed it a bit earlier. Rather than being reactive, he needs to be a bit more proactive. Even while scoffing down a butter chicken, I could see that we needed to change it, and it just felt like it was the inevitable was going to happen, and it happened. Listen, it was an unfortunate goal. It was one of those where Constance had a great game. It's second a flick off his boot, and it's gone into the direction of Embolo, and he's put it away. And what I will give Southgate credit for is that he did react pretty immediately. rather than leaving it another 10 minutes, which I will absolutely go fair play. I wish
it
you'd have changed
worked.
it before. It did work. I wish you'd changed it before. I felt like we were. I think the extra time again, pretty nondescript. And I get the feeling with a lot of these tournaments now, internationally and in club level, that extra time I'd be happy to scrap it and go straight to penalties, because I think it's just sometimes a bit of a waste of time. I know Spain will agree with that after scoring the 119th minute, but I don't know. I think he'll probably keep a similar team. I think he might bring Gay in for Conser. I'd start Shaw, but I don't think he will. If anything, he might start Shaw as a left centre back on Wednesday. I think he'll keep the same team. I think again, it's a matter of the squad making a difference off the bench, and we need to be, I think, even more on it, because Koeman has shown, probably more than a lot of other managers in this tournament, that he's ready to make sharp and quite brutal decisions. Bringing players on at half time, swapping it very early, changing system. And listen, Netherlands haven't had a great tournament either. They finished third in a group that was quite poor. And they've probably got better as the tournament's gone on. I think attacking wise will look strong. I think we'll look vulnerable defensively. Whereas ironically with us, we probably look relatively okay at the back, where we'd look a bit weaker up top. We just need to counteract the likes of Gakpo and Depay, who are on it in a moment, and Vegas, who will come on. He's going to come on at some point. We have to deal with that threat. I think it'll be an interesting game. I said it in our group chat. I think we're going to lose. I hope we don't. Listen, I hope we don't. I really hope we don't. But I think we just need to see if he's learning to react to a situation like that. I'd like him to learn and be a little bit more proactive. I'm not saying change it immediately, but you can sense where the tide is going. And I sense that in the second half. And I think there's a lot of other comments that people, Gaz might say the same potentially, where, rather than waiting for it to happen, change it and make it happen.
Yeah. Gaz? Any happier, any more confident, any more nervous than you were?
No.
When we spoke on Saturday?
Obviously, we were on Saturday, weren't we? Me, you, and Brownie, and we discussed the Switzerland game, and Lou pretty much said what most of us were saying then as well. I would just like to think that at some point, we're England, aren't we? So we never do it, but surely we've got to play well at some point. And if we do play well, we win the game. It's that simple. Our squad is better than the Dutch squad. It's not always been better than the Dutch squad. This year, it is better than the Dutch squad. And if we play well, we'll win the game. I just fear that, it's going to be more of the same, and we'll probably get beat by the odd goal, either in extra time or late on. But like I said a minute ago, you play well, we've got a good chance. And I think that Shaw should play. We talked about it on Saturday. He made a difference when he came on straight away. Eze got that chance because Shaw took two defenders down the left-hand side and left Eze with a chance to shoot. And Eze, we said on Saturday, Eze probably should have done better. We're probably going to rely on, like we've done before, it was Saka on Saturday, a moment from him. We've had moments from Bellingham. We're probably going to be looking at, like we said on Saturday, a Foden to step up or somebody to step up. But France have been doing that for the last few years and it's worked for them. So maybe it'll work for us. You just never know with England. It could go either way. But hoping that we finally turn it on, but worrying that we probably won't.
Can I say, Lou, did you manage to catch the BBC pundits talking about the England performance at half-time? Have you heard of it? Because it's...
I can't imagine.
I don't know what game they were watching.
I can't imagine.
I started to listen to it and I muted it. Started to listen to it and I thought, I'm not listening to this. It was like it was like watching Brazil from the 70s. Like, what on earth?
Yeah. It was
Me
like
some
propaganda, wasn't it? I couldn't believe it. I was like watching a different game.
It was like from the FA. It's like be positive.
Yeah, we were better, but we weren't that good, were we? I don't know. Am I being really cynical? But I was. I don't know what some of the stuff you were saying. Yeah, I know you'll think I am. Listen, we've got to praise them because they're getting through it, the grinding results out. You can. I still think there's a. I don't know. Like I say, the whole leak situation is still baffling, and you can't criticise the media for leaking the team. You got to just cut it at source, and the source is coming from the camp, so you can't really come out and criticise the press who are doing the job by doing what they're paid to do. actually stop it from within, because that's where it's happening. So I think that needs to stop, and it will be interesting come tomorrow. Will we hear anything? There's going to be rumours. There's obviously going to be rumours of that, but it seems like what's coming out is pretty much nailed on of what's happened. And I will give them praise because they do. I think they've probably grown together more as a camp. I think they've taken on the criticism in inverted commas quite personally, and I think that's probably brought them closer together. I think they've not been expecting it because they haven't had it for quite a long time. I'm not saying they've got a pass, because I don't think they've had a pass about it, because they've deserved the praise and adulation that they've had in recent years. But I think they've probably now got a little bit of taste of what's happened in previous years, and I don't think they've liked it. And it's interesting that it's affected that in such a way that they've really come out bullish and stand up to it. And you know what, fair play if that's what we're going to do, and that's what gets us over the line. I'll absolutely take it. I think there was a change in dynamic at full time where they celebrated like we got into the final, even though it was only the semi. I've not seen Southgate since probably Russia celebrate like that. I think he felt the fans appreciated that performance, and probably not performance, but more of a result and the way that we're doing things a bit more than before. He seemed to let himself go a little bit, which I don't think is a bad thing. I want to see that a little bit more often. Not just passion, but I think take the shackles off a little bit, let your players do what they're good at doing. So, yeah, we deserve the praise. Listen, we joke between us. They do deserve the praise. They've got through to a semi-final. How we get there doesn't really matter. I would have liked to see us get better performances. Ironically, you can imagine us playing better against Netherlands and we might lose. That will be ironic. That actually put in a really good performance and just to get the result.
We have done that in the past, haven't we? Saved our best game for when we got knocked out and
we got beat.
Recurring thing. I've got to say, I mean, for me, I think either way, Southgate is done after this tournament, because I
agree.
I mean, me just personally, I would like to see England play good football. I would like to see us be more entertaining. I just would. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, ask me again in 4 years. I might be like, no, if we've gone out at group stage.
With the calibre of players, we should be better. We should be playing better.
This is where the criticism has come this time. It's because these are top players.
Yeah.
All over the pitch. And like Lou said, we argued before defence was what I was worried about, and it hasn't really been a problem. So how we've failed, in the attacking sense with these options, I just don't know how you do that. For me, it's poor coaching. That's what I put it down to.
Yeah.
So and that's where the frustration comes, because you look at these players going, we should be better than this. We should be, I mean, the thing that frustrated me a little bit was when we went 1-0 down, suddenly there's the urgency. Suddenly there's a spark. Suddenly we look like we go for it a bit. And like Lou said, get the subs on early. And for me, Southgate didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do with his subs on. He was. I felt like he was just keep it the same. And I don't think he really knew what to do, which I think is a bit of a scandal when you got a bench that good and those amount of options to not do anything. I mean, it's
at 0-0, and we've said this before, and you see it's
that's where you've got to be but that's where you've got to go, okay, how can I affect this? How can we affect this? Not just wait and wait and wait. How can we do something?
True, but everything's a risk, isn't it? Everything's a risk.
Yeah, and do you know what?
Because this is the problem, and literally, again, for most managerial positions, you can't win, but especially the England manager's job. Like, if you make changes and it backfires, you're stuffed. If you don't make changes, you're stuffed. If you make changes too late and it doesn't pay off,
I feel the pain. Listen, I got sacked on FM 2 weeks ago as England manager after one tournament, by the way. One tournament and I got sacked. 1 year in the job and I got sacked.
Whereas looking here at Southgate, 8 years in, 100 games in, the third highest amount of games behind, I think it's Harold Winterbottom and Sir Alf Ramsey.
Crazy.
And yeah, it's here we are. It's another semi-final. Like it's how about it's time that you get the shackles off and you just start being positive for it, and it's going to come home.
Well, I've got whether you stick with it. Do you gamble or not? And that's an individual thing. It's the same in any walk of life. And obviously, Southgate prefers to be cautious. Some managers don't. You talk about Koeman before. He will make the changes at half time and try and affect the game. So do you stick or do you twist? It depends what you do.
I'm not being funny. I don't think we could all sit here and say if we were in there in his job that we would suddenly gamble, we would suddenly be more attacking,
exactly.
we would want it to happen, because at the end of the day, like, it's easy for us to sit here and say that, but it's not. We're like, there's nothing happens if we say.
It's like Harry Kane, isn't it? It's like the Harry Kane situation. Who would drop Harry Kane? How can you drop Harry Kane? How can you take Harry Kane off after an hour?
And yet we would all sit here and say at times we'd take him off. But actually, again, in that position, it's not that easy, is it? And this is the thing. This is why there's 55 million England managers in this country when tournaments roll around. So
you're right. You're absolutely right. You know, and I think my perspective on it is, listen, I really liked your point. I've said this before. I really liked your point. He has done a great job. He's got realistically the nation kind of behind us from what we weren't before.
Yeah.
But I still maintain that I think he needs to our points earlier between us all, he still needs to affect the game before the game gets affected. Yeah. I want us to and I know obviously we're taking a bit of a personal kind of stuff from the press and the media, but let's be honest, these players are capable of performing so much better. This isn't, and I'm in a weird kind of way, take the results out of it because we're talking about specific about performance. These players are capable of playing so much more and a better way of playing. And it is hard to argue when the results have been going in our favour, but you've got to take it on the chest. You've got to take that criticism. You can't expect everybody to go in, everything's all right, everything's fine, we're doing really well, because we're doing well in terms of getting through to the semi-final, and this is the thing, I don't think anybody's knocking the fact that we've got through to the semi-final. Nobody's disappointed. We're all, really happy that we're getting to a semi-final. We've got a chance of getting through to a final, and we've potentially got a chance to win it. I don't think anybody's kind of against that fact. The point is that you can't get your backs up when we've not played well, and people are focusing, and rightly so, on performances that we have been fortunate to get to where we are, and you do need a bit of luck in the tournaments to get that far. You absolutely do. But we know that we're capable of beating Netherlands 4-1 like we did in Euro 96 and blowing them out the water. We're capable of doing that. At the moment, just can't see it.
I just like to say, obviously following Liverpool, managers get criticised for this all the time. I see times last season when people were saying Klopp, he's got what moaning about him not changing it soon enough. And this is Jurgen Klopp, who's like, one of, if not the best manager in the world. And change it. Why didn't he change it? Why is he leaving it? Why didn't he be more proactive? Stop being reactive. You see it all the time. And then we talked again on the pod the other night. We talked about France, didn't we? And this is the Deschamps route. This is what Deschamps does. He keeps it very safe. Probably more reactive than proactive again. Relies on a Mbappe to go and win it. A star player to do something special. And Southgate's clearly following that route. I would just like to say, you mentioned Euro 96 there. I remember winning 1993, and Koeman should have not even been on the pitch. So I would love to get one over on him on Wednesday night.
Kevin Keegan, I'd love it.
Was that when he dragged? Was that when he dragged down the the chap who was through 1-on-1?
David Platt, and then he stayed on he committed the foul. He didn't get sent off, and then he scored the free kick to win the game. Direct free kick later.
That was out of USA, wasn't it?
It basically meant that we weren't going to qualify for USA 94. They went through instead. Or they were in prime position to go through after that game.
Yeah, please beat them. Come on. I mean, the thing with Southgate, I mean, it makes me laugh what Gaz says. I agree 100% because the amount of times me and Jason would text each other about Farker last season, like, why are he bloody making a sub? Come on. So he's absolutely right. I mean, when I listen to Southgate,
Leeds go on to win.
Well, well, the thing is, and I don't want to come across as negative about Southgate because I think he's done so much good for this England football team. The way he's brought it together, I think he talks brilliantly. I think the way he's handled lots of different issues is really phenomenal. And when he does speak tactically about the game, a lot of what he says does make sense. He seems, and he's so attuned to tournament football, but it's just taking that extra step. But maybe it's just that tournament where it's just falling into place for us. I mean, that Bellingham goal. I mean, that for me is the moment where you're going, this could be something special because we're nowhere, and something like that happening is one of those moments. And yeah, it's it just keeps rolling.
And one bonus for us on Wednesday is that we haven't got any players suspended. I know the Dutch don't either, but we had a possibility where Trippier couldn't play. We know that Southgate loves to play him, regardless of people's opinions. But he's a leader in that team. Foden is not suspended. Bellingham's not suspended. And then it's wiped out ahead of a final. So we haven't lost two or three key players ahead of Wednesday. Ironically, you look at the other semi-final tomorrow night, where there's a few suspensions. So actually, some of their team, their squads are going to be not weaker, but they're going to look different. Whereas actually the England-Netherlands game is probably going to be the manager's first choice.
Speaking of cards and suspensions, the final kind of thing I wanted to touch on with the England-Netherlands game is this whole thing that's come out today about the referee. So it's going to be Felix Zweier of Germany, who was once criticised by an 18-year-old Jude Bellingham in a Borussia Dortmund versus Bayern Munich game after the game because... let me just find it now. He basically criticised him because he was suspended for 6 months, was this referee, at some stage in his career, for being alleged or being involved in a match-fixing scandal in Germany.
Another ref paid him. It was like another ref paid him or something, wasn't it? Weird.
It was something along those lines. And Bellingham made some comments to TV after the game. His words were, you give a referee that has match fixed before the biggest game in Germany, what do you expect? And he was then fined £34,000 or 40,000 euros at the time, which I imagine to an 18-year-old Jude Bellingham, even at Dortmund, was still quite a lot of money. But it just, I'm not being funny. How can a referee that has that in his history be involved at refereeing a major tournament full stop? Not let alone a semi-final, but full stop. How is that a possible thing with something that has been done for match fixing be refereeing at a major tournament?
This comes back to what we were talking about in the group chat yesterday about second chances, and it applies for players. Obviously, there's the whole Mason Greenwood thing, the Ched Evans thing. We had an interesting debate, didn't we, in the chat last night about that, and it applies to referees as well, and where you stand on it is an individual take.
Yeah, listen, don't talk to me about dodgy referees. Being a Leeds fan, I could go through the incidents if you want. We'll be here till midnight.
Go through the entire EFL referee history.
Oh.
I mean, Lou, what's your kind of take on this? And look, can you imagine if Jude Bellingham ends up picking up a rather gets a red card for something completely innocuous now?
I don't really, if I'm being honest, I don't really know the full story to properly comment, but I'm going to sit on the fence and kind of just say that let's just hope the game isn't decided by VAR or a decision that, comes out of it and actually was wrong. Hopefully it doesn't. But we have seen occasions in league, haven't we, in a situation where, we've apologised for making a wrong decision. I just hope it doesn't come down to that. I just want us to win on merit. I just want us to, even if it is a scruffy 1-0 or a penalties win, I'm really not bothered. Actually now, to be fair, listen, I want us to play well, but I've kind of joined a camp where I'm really not bothered how we perform as long as we just get the result now. So yeah, I just hope it kind of just goes in our favour, whatever it is. And if it is going to be a referee decision, let's hope it does go in our favour. Just don't want to lose to one.
Well,
let's be honest. We just want us to win now, don't we?
Yeah,
we've wanted performance
day one.
Yeah, I know you have, but it's almost like it doesn't really matter now. We've gone too far past it. We've kind of. I disagreed. I think with something I read. I don't know if it was Alan Shearer. I think he said it's almost like this feels like it's the identity or something along them lines. And I was kind of hoping that maybe we want to get better. But actually, right now, you're so close to that final, you can almost smell it and touch it. I really don't care how we play. Really don't care. They could have 30 shots and we can, to use an FM phrase, FM them, let's have one shot on target and let's just do them. I really don't care about it. So, let's forget about all this talk about referees and decisions. Let's just get a scruffy one off a backside 1-0 win. I really don't care now. It's gone too far.
I think the phrase is shithouse. Let's do it.
Why not? It's got to that point on it now, and I think everybody's in that same boat where we've seen
100%.
performances just not being up to what we'd hoped and expected them to be. Really don't matter now, does it? I mean,
Well,
I kind of predicted otherwise, but you
Play
imagine
Conor
Frank
Gallagher. Go for it. Just
Oh,
go.
yeah,
No,
do it.
please don't.
No,
Can you imagine? Could you imagine a France-England final where both teams have been playing? Can you imagine that? I mean, listen, you all guys know my thoughts on this tournament of how I don't think it's been the best quality, but France-England, the way both teams are playing, that's a snooze fest.
Again, if we end up winning it, I couldn't really
Yeah.
care. It's just.
The problem is if we lose it, though, I think if we lose it, he's still going to get so much criticism.
Yeah, I do.
Like you did all that and you still bloody lost it.
I think you're right now. I think there's definitely an element of that where we haven't performed as what we hoped we would be. So if you don't win it, that is the hook to go back on it. Yeah.
But then at the same time, I think I think we're a lot further on than you all expected us to be. And to be honest, as I say, look, the performances haven't been great, and we are further on than even I expected. But I've just always had that little bit of hope there.
Bielsa wins Copa America, and then we get Bielsa. I'm telling you.
No. So it'll be Southgate
Could you imagine?
wins the Euros for England, and Jesse Marsh wins the Copa America for Canada.
Jesse Marsh comes to England. No,
I mean,
that'd
no,
be a nightmare,
let's not go too far. But
me and Jay leaving the country if that happens. I think
you actually would as well.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we'd leave him. That'd be it. I'm done.
If Jesse Marsh wins the Copa America, you need to get a tattoo of him somewhere. I had a final thought
to that because I'm genuinely worried it might happen. I'll tell you.
I did have a final thought, and it's completely gone. So we'll leave it with that. The big question is, will we be on to do a post-match review on Wednesday?
I don't. I'm with family, so I don't think I'll be able to. Actually, I'm not at home.
I mean, I'm looking at the rest of you.
Maybe.
There's potential I could be. It might not be straight after, but I might be able to join.
Yeah.
Like quarter of an hour, half an hour later.
Oh yeah, maybe not straight away. Yeah, maybe if you're still on a little bit later, I might.
Yeah.
There we go. So in short, keep an eye on the channel. We might be on, we might not. Hopefully we'll be on with some form of content, whatever happens with England on Wednesday night. Let's hope that we can get our way through to a final come hell or high water. And if it takes penalties, I'll be quite confident after the last one with the way they panned out. Big thank you, as ever, to Steven Browne, to Lewis Sale, and to Gareth Walker for everything over the course of the evening, talking all things West Yorkshire football and England. As Gaz somehow makes this firework work.
What's going on here?
I don't know.
Blimey.
We don't know, but for some reason, Gaz is magic. And that is all we need to know. Do like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Do like us on X and on Facebook as well. Just search for the West Yorkshire Football Show. And we'll be back very, very soon with next week's edition of the Monday Night's Roundup. And some more content sure to come from England and all of our club sides to come as well. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.